Very good morning to one and all. I'm Mamta, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, EWIT. Welcomes all the faculties, research scholars, students from all the colleges and universities to the 1 week webinar on challenges in civil engineering, organized by Department of Civil Engineering, EWIT, in association with Civil Engineering Association and Indian Concrete Institute, BENC Student Chapter, Bangalore. I would also like to welcome today's speaker for day 5, Dr. Anjaneyappa, Associate Professor, RVC Bangalore. Sir, welcome you to the 1 week webinar program, sir.
Thank
Now,
you, ma'am.
I would like to request Mrs. Rajeshwari B, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, EWIT, to give a brief introduction about today's speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, one and all present here. It's my honor to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Anjaneyappa, Associate Professor, RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. Sir has completed his BE in Civil from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore in 1992. He has done his postgraduate as well as PhD from UVCE, Bangalore in 1997 and 2012 respectively. He was earlier worked with consultancy organizations and involved in preparation of project reports of highway engineering. He is closely associated with road industry for more than 2 decades and involved in organizing training programs for KPWD, BBMP, KRRDA, and other organizations on various topics of highway engineers. He has carried out many consultancy projects in the field of highway engineering. He has delivered many invited talks on various topics of highway engineering in seminars, workshops, training programs organized by many institutes. He is a professional member of Institution of Engineers, Indian Geotechnical Society, Indian Road Congress, Indian Concrete Institute, American Society of Civil Engineers, World Road Association, etc. And he is having a wide experience of teaching for 16 years and in industry 7 years. So on the behalf of entire civil engineering department, EWIT, I would like to welcome you, sir. And
Thank
today
you.
he is going to deliver the lecture on recent practices in highway engineering. So thank you very much, sir, once again for being here with us today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, the East West Institute of Technology for this great opportunity, and thank you, the coordinators, Professor Rajeshwari, Professor Mamata, and head of the department, Professor Nagaraj Gupta. Uh, shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you can start sharing your screen, sir.
Is screen is shared already?
No, sir, your video is on. You have to start sharing the screen, the PPT that you have, the PPT which you have to share.
Screen is already. I have not changed.
You have to share the screen, sir. The video is on, but the screen is not yet shared, sir. No problem, sir. Take your own time, sir.
Papu?
Sir?
No, not ma'am, not ma'am.
Okay.
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
Yes, sir.
ಅಪ್ಪು ಬರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಆಂಜನೇಯಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಕೊಡಿ
ಸರ್ co-host ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಇರೋ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಎಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಓಕೆ ನೌ
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
It's
sir.
seen, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Sorry for that interruption.
No problem, sir. No problem, sir.
Good morning, one and all. Dear participants, today my topic of discussion is the recent practices in highway engineering, maybe for 1 hour or so. This picture shows the different payment layers of a typical flexible payment. The embankment constructed to meet the desired RL of the road. Then comes our subgrade, the foundation of the road, which takes all the stresses, wheel load stresses from the pavement top layer and then transferred to the mother earth. And above this, we have another layer, the granular subbase, a load bearing layer which takes the load as well as uh, takes care of the drainage of the pavement. So whatever the water enters from the shoulders and infiltrates from the asphalted surface gets into this layer, and from this layer it is taken to the longitudinal drains on the other side. This is an important layer as far as drainage is concerned. Above this granular subbase, we find another layer, the base layer. Commonly used base layer in our country is the wet mix macadam. And the function of this base layer is to take care of all the load stresses. It's an exclusive high load bearing layer which takes the stresses from the top bituminous layers and then distributes onto the GSB and then again onto the subgrade and so on. So if you look at above the base layer, we get the asphalt layers. Above this, we get asphalt layers, bituminous layers. The immediately above this, we find binder layer like dense bituminous macadam commonly, and above that a surface layer called bituminous concrete layer. So when we look from bottom to the top, the lowest layer is subgrade, above that GSB, then wet mix macadam, above this we find the DBM and then BC. So as we go up and up, we find superior layers, or vice versa. When we, as we go down and down, we find inferior layers. Inferior layers means to say embankment is inferior to the subgrade, subgrade is inferior to the GSB, GSB is inferior to the base, base is inferior to the binder layer and binder layer is inferior to BC layer in terms of the strength, the stability. So why that so? The highest stresses we get on the surface, hence we go for the strongest layer at the top, and as we go down and down, we get very less stresses, wheel load stresses, hence we make use of inferior materials. Means to say, yeah, all the materials can be made use of in general as far as road construction is concerned. Only thing is we have to look where those layers, those materials can be made use of through appropriate engineering. And this is another picture I am presenting. You can see a very high embankment constructed for a road. Maybe there is a valley here. So huge embankment, maybe 15, 16 meters. And this is also many times we can see on many roads. And the other picture we can see here, a new stream, a new path of the river. So means to say, the road industry use huge quantity of materials starting from the earth, the soil, the aggregates, and the concrete, the bituminous materials. So To summarize, we use about 10 lakh cubic meters, 10 lakh cubic meters for a two-lane road. For a two-lane road, 10 lakh cubic meters. You can imagine a tipper carries, a big tipper carries 20 cubic meter. For about 100 kilometers two-lane road, we use 10 lakh cubic meter of soil. About half of that, about 4 lakh cubic meters of jelly, the aggregates for every 100 kilometers of two laning. Not just this, this is for new road construction. And it is, we do not end the consumption of these materials, whether it is soil or jelly. Even every 5 or 6 years, we go for resurfacing. We go for resurfacing. Even for that, every 5 years, 6 years, we use about 30,000 cubic meters of aggregates for every 100 kilometers. Means to say, if there is a hillock as shown in this figure, by the time we finish a 100 kilometer 4 bar 6 laning, something like road like Bangalore Mysore road, which we are doing now, by the time we finish 100 kilometers, we going to remove these kind of hillocks from the mother earth. So much is the huge quantity of aggregates we consume in road construction. So because of this, what are the challenges that we are facing in the road industry today? Good materials. Why good materials? Even all the materials, even marginal materials, alternate materials, and their sources are depleting day by day. And addition to that, because we use good materials for subgrade and good aggregates, which needs to fulfill so many physical requirements, many times we may not find the sources near the project site. We may have to go away from the project road, maybe to an extent of the lowest can be 5 kilometers and the farthest can be 60, 70 kilometers in northern India. So means to say the huge transportation costs are the road industry is incurring. And when it comes to the extraction of the jelly, the aggregates, or even for that matter, soil, there are stringent regulations from various government authorities, may it be forest department, or the mining department of mining, or the revenue department. So there are stringent regulations. So that is another constraint. Forget about all these things, and the biggest thing is, as I showed you in the first, the huge embankment and the stream, because of this road construction, there are new erosions, there are new sedimentations, we are creating new streams, and it is creating new courses for these new streams, and we are creating n number of ditches in the name of excavation. So it's the biggest challenge. What is the environmental impact, implication because of the huge consumption of the aggregate soil and aggregates? To be honest, we are not that sure. We have not quantified its impact precisely. So the need of the hour today is I don't know. We need to go for the cutting edge technology or out of box technology or new technologies or sustainable technologies, what we talk day in and day out. What are these new technologies, sustainable technology, are they helping? I don't know. I don't know. But here and there, we are, to an extent possible, we are adopting sustainable technologies so that the consumption of aggregates, consumption of these materials is reduced. But are we good at this? Are we at some level? I don't have the answers, and days to come need to answer this. If we take a road project, any road project, these are the cost components. In a road project, 50% of the cost that we spend on the materials, we spend on the materials. If there is 1,000 crores project, 500 crores we spend on materials, the soil, jelly, binder, cement. And about 15 to 20% we spend on the plants and equipments. And HR, needless to say, we spend, it is less than 10% or even less than 5%. What I am trying to submit before you is optimization of materials, appropriate use of materials, careful utilization of the materials, not wasting the materials is the biggest thing that we need to adopt for two reasons. One is we are saving, we are contributing something to the sustainability. Number two, just by careful optimization of the materials utilization in the project, we can save huge amount because 50% we spend on the materials. So that is one takeaway. And the second is the investment on the plants and equipments. The 20% means 1,000 crores project. You may be surprised why I'm using 1,000 crores. We don't talk about the lakhs in the road industry. We talk about, we don't even, the smallest project is 2-3 crores. The PMGSY project is 5 crores, 6 crores. So if we take NHA project, it's all in thousands. And even state highway projects, it's all in hundreds. So even that 15 to 20% on the plants and machinery is a huge task, huge investment. And optimization, optimal utilization of these plants and machinery also results in a significant amount of money. Needless to say, the HR sector in the road industry is not that organized. Not organized. Yes, to an extent it is organized when it comes to the big corporate companies, but most of the time, this sector is unorganized. HR sector is highly unorganized, and probably going in the near future, maybe we should foresee some kind of organized way in that. So when it comes to the consumption of the fuel, we consume huge quantity of the fuel, diesel, for the construction. In this picture, you can see, you take any of the equipment, the hourly consumption varies from 5 liters to 70, 80 liters per hour. It's a huge consumption. One is an exhaustible resource. Second is the foreign exchange, because all the oil is imported, fuel is imported. So that is another aspect that we are facing. And look at this, I have summarized, calculated for a 1 kilometer, one lane new road, in which we consume about 10,000 liters of fuel, diesel. This is not a small thing. Calculate, this is what I have highlighted here for 1 kilometer, one lane. Imagine we have a huge road network of 60 lakh kilometer, and majority of that warrants the rehabilitation or a new construction. Imagine what is the consumption of the fuel expected in the road industry. And as I said, this is not just for new construction. Every 5 years, 6 years, we go for maintenance activity. Again, that also consumes significant, considerable fuel consumption. So this is another thing that we need to worry about. I was talking about the unorganized sector as far as the HR is concerned in the road industry. Yes, it is highly unorganized. To a certain extent, it is organized when it comes to the supervisors and above. When I say supervisors, engineers and above, at least we have got good companies, corporate companies. But forget about the engineers, the huge, maybe I would like to mention here, the biggest employer is the road industry. That means to say, if we want to create employment in the society, probably we need to engage in road construction. That is what, irrespective, all the governments do many times. The road industry, road is the backbone for social economical development. So if you want to build up the GDP or NSDP or anything, we need to start new road construction. So such being the importance of the road industry, and such being the biggest employer of the human resources, but still it is highly unorganized. The key man in this road industry, key man in the road industry is the labor, was so-called the skilled operator or the skilled worker. So why I would say is more important than an engineer is because end of the day, at least in my industry, road industry, though the DPR is prepared by, let's assume that the project report is prepared by excellent consulting firm, and I'll assume that we have a very good, excellent management firm for supervising the construction with all engineers and all the resources required. Further, assume that we have world-class equipments for execution and very good materials for the road construction. In spite of all these excellences in all the resources constrained, end of the day, all these, the materials, the mixers, the machineries, the plants, equipments, all are directly operated by the so-called skilled operator. So more than us is very, very important, and industry has realized this in this decade, and slowly we are gearing up to retain him and retain his expertise in the road industry. Why this is so important is, as a last resort only the skilled man or this labor comes to the road industry as a last resort. If there is no monsoon in his village, if he has not got any option to work in any other sector, he comes as a last option to this tar industry. Why he chooses this as a last option? We work in the dust, we work in the harsh environment, we work in the smoke and no facilities. So the moment he get a good monsoon in his place, he leaves this and he go back to his village to engage farming, or he get an opportunity to work there. So what is the impact of this migration from the industry of this labor? So we lose his experience, his expertise. After all, to certain extent, the construction is an art. Construction is an art. It is not just engineering. It is workmanship. It is an art. So that art, that skill, we lose. And again, a new man comes and he also leaves. So end of the day, what is the implication? We leave, we end up with poor quality product. Not only that, if you look at his behavior, because he walks in the smoke, dust, etc., harsh environment, his behavior is different from morning to evening. Because you may be knowing, we work in 2 shifts or many times three shifts. So his behavior is different in the morning, early morning. Afternoon, his behavior is different. Evening, his behavior is different because he has to work in the dust, smoke, and he's different. His behavior is different because he always, most of the times the people work here will be in the double action. I think you understand that. So when he's in the good mood, the product quality will be good, and evening, whatever he does, it will be little inferior. So because his mood changes, his behavior changes because of so many reasons. So the retention of the labor is the biggest challenge in the road industry. And why? There are so many reasons. Neither the client is serious on this, nor the consultant is serious on this, and the contractor is serious on this. And there are lapses from all the stakeholders. So we need to take care of this. This is very, very important. So this slide shows the need for skilled laborers. Look at this. This is world statistics published in 2016. It's about 11 lakh or about 3% when it comes to the engineers in the industry, as far as 2015 statistics is concerned. Look at this. It is 4 crores or 84% when it comes to the unskilled and skilled workers. So much is the requirement or the people engaged in the road sector. So there are some constraints the road industry is facing today. You know that there are 60 lakh kilometer approximately, statistics is a statistics, and we have very small quantity of national highways, just only 2% of national highways, less than 2%, and only this 2%, less than 2% of road network carries 40% of the traffic. Or if you add state highways to that country's network, the state highways and then the national highways carries about 65% of the traffic. And if you look at the breakup, so we have got about 30% of 4-lane roads. 25% of 4-lane roads, and about 50% of 2-lane roads in this NH and SH, and about 26% of single lane to intermediate lane road network. What is that indicates? What is that indication takeaway from this? That means to say, so far we could able to widen, or we could able to construct multi-lane roads or 4-lane roads to an extent of 30-40%, and long way to go. Still another 50-60% of the roads we need to go for widening as far as NH are concerned, and about 50% of roads, 30% of the state highways, still we need to go for 2-lane. You may be knowing we have got a huge traffic, and almost all the national highways almost warrants 4-lane, and almost all state highways warrants 2-lane roads, and why not even some state highways warrants 4-lane roads. So much is the requirement and demand. So that is one thing. If you look at the past 2 decades, if you have one question, what is the investment made on the road industry in the last 2.5 decades? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It is in trillions. It is in trillions. Maybe how many lakh thousand kilometers we have invested. I don't have the right statistics. Only I can tell you very, very huge amount of money we have invested, which runs into so many trillions. And that is the new construction. And as we know, we are good at constructing the assets, but even today, we are not realized and we are not geared up the maintenance aspect. So creating asset is one part, and maintaining this asset to the customer satisfaction, to the societal satisfaction is another big challenge. Of course, we need to we need to meet the customer satisfaction. So we are good in capital investment, creating asset, but we are not good in maintaining these assets. The end result is maybe after 5-10 years after the new construction, we end up with bad roads. And again, if we do not maintain further, we may have to go for reconstruction again. So maintenance of the existing infrastructure, road infrastructure, is a biggest challenge in the road industry. There are so many reasons. Money is one of the important resource. We, as on date, some statistics says we get only 40% of the money, whatever that is required for the maintenance. That means still we are facing about 50-60% deficiency. So because of this deficiency, improper maintenance management system, we are ending up with poor quality maintenance, poor riding quality, poor surface of the roads. The other aspect that currently the road industry is facing, yes, if you look at the accident rate and I think we are the biggest contributor. Maybe in the end, I'll little more I'll talk about this. The road safety is the biggest concern today. About 400 road-related deaths are recorded daily. About 1.5 million people die. So if you take our death rate, road accident death rate is much higher than our neighbors, like countries like Bangladesh, Mauritius, and Sri Lanka. So this is really a big concern. Big concern. What is road by definition? A, a road is meant for passage of movement of the people and the goods in the safe, economical way. So safety is more important. If you call anything as a good road, that means there should be good safety standards. If there is no safety, whatever be the quality of the road, whatever be the highest quality of the surface, it is a poor road. So we need to tackle this safety concern in a big way, and the industry is attending to that. And the government is very serious on this, at least in the last uh, 1 decade. So this is the if you take the biggest cause for human death in the world, in the 1990, the road accident deaths were in the 9th place. Of course, the first cause for the human deaths was respiratory infections in the 90s. And the 9th cause for human deaths in the society is road traffic injuries. Take today, 2020, the biggest reason for human deaths is heart diseases, and the third highest reason for human deaths is road traffic injuries. We have elevated from 9th position to 3rd position, and so many lakhs of people are dying every other day, every day, and every second people are dying. So this is the biggest concern, and we are not concerned about this. Not enough concentration is on this, and this is the death rates, and of course when it comes to the Karnataka, we are not lagging as far as accident deaths are concerned. We stand somewhere 3rd or 4th position in the India, highest in terms of highest death rates. There are so many reasons for these accidents: the overspeeding, driving on the wrong side, overtaking, use of mobile, violations, and the biggest reason for the deaths is overspeeding. The biggest reason is overspeeding. So controlling the speed is one of the method to control the accidents. You may ask, what is the purpose of road if you control the speed? The high category roads, national highways, state highways are meant for mobility. The lower category roads, something like village roads, are meant for connectivity. When I say connectivity, the village roads are connected with the intention of giving access to the social, economical, educational facilities, hospitals, school, marketplaces. That is the intention. Speed is not the criteria there. When it comes to the higher category roads, national highways and state highways, there the intention of that road is to give the mobility to an extent possible. That means if I want to travel from Bangalore to Hubli, I need to maintain certain speed so that I can reach Hubli in the right time. So there I cannot control the speed, and there should be enough speed, there should be enough mobility. So maintaining the mobility, controlling the speed when it comes to the controlling the safety, yes, it's the biggest challenge today for the stakeholders associated in the road industry. And this is what, if you take the various reasons for the accidents, the about 70% factors are contributed by the human being. Because of him, the accidents are occurring. But again, there are engineering causes which we road engineers can take care of. So that's about 27 percent, 26, 28%. That means 26 to 28% is contribution from the people who are involved in the road building, road design, road construction. So we are contributing to that. So concentrating on constructing the forgiving roads, safe roads is need of the hour, and that is the biggest challenge again today. So we also contributing, we road engineers are also contributing to the road accidents to an extent of 20-30% by constructing the bad roads, and we need to take care of that. So what is the biggest, the loss for the society? It is estimated that about 1 to 3% of the total GDP is the loss to the society. And it is estimated that about 500 billion is the loss to the society, to the world, just because of this road accident. Then comes the carbon footprint, the emissions. If you take emissions, global emissions, we are the biggest contributor. On one side, we need good roads. We need to construct the roads. We need to maintain the roads, because that is the backbone for the economical development, social development. On the other side, when it comes to the environment, yes, we are polluting to the highest extent. The roads contributes to 14% of the total global emissions. Transportation sector, we contribute to the 14%. That is the significant portion. For 15% is a significant portion. In that, the road sector alone, we contribute 72%. 72% of the 15% of the emissions is contributed by us. It is not a small thing. It's really a challenge for the industry to worry about and engineers to worry about. So what are the answers for all these questions? Whatever the challenges that I have mentioned so far, there are no simple overnight solutions. There are no simple solutions. And then what is required? Like any others big people say, I also concur with them, some kind of creative mind, some kind of out of box solutions, some kind of um, what is that what is the out of box solutions are required for all this to tackle that. Can we solve this overnight? No, we cannot. But we need to accelerate the solutions, the alternatives in this direction. That's what the industry is doing. But the rate of the changing this is not sufficient. I don't know the reasons. So, having said the listed the so many challenges, there are some thing you may ask, are we not doing anything to answer these challenges as solutions? Yes, we are doing, but as I said, it is not enough. Some of these alternatives are, as we all know, we need to go for locally available materials in the road industry. When I say locally available material, anything, it can be industrial byproducts, it can be marginal materials. All these can be used in the appropriate layers. I was telling at bottom layers through appropriate engineering measures. Please remember, wherever I go, I trust God has not created any waste material. There are no waste material on this earth. There are no waste material. So let us not use the word waste material. At the most, we can say marginal material, alternate material. So they are also precious materials. So we need to go for in a big way. And of course, we are at that. And you name any material, yes, it can be used. No need to reinvent the wheel. At this, if you ask one question, can we use this material? I would directly say yes, without any second thought. Only thing is some modification, some changes, some engineering is required to use those materials. And there are these changes, these requirements, these engineering measures are not complex. They are very, very simple. So any material can be used. So we need to go for locally available materials so that we can reduce the the transportation cost. We can reduce the depletion of these excavation of this earth, the extraction of jelly, the aggregates from the quarries, from the mother earth. And the second alternative, what we are doing today is stabilization. We need to go in a big way. Stabilization, it's a oldest technique is old technique, but we need to go for that. Even if you look at the payment design in the previous revisions, not much concentration was given. It was given, but we were not practicing. If you look at the latest revision, IRC 37, they have given enough thrust on this. We need to go for stabilization of the layers, the payment layers. What are the advantages by this? We can reduce the thickness of the top layers so that the materials consumptions can be reduced. We need to go for reclaimed materials. We have to reuse the materials. Again, the old technology, there is no need to reinvent it. Yes, we need to go for the reuse of materials. And of course, there are technologies today available. We can think of using cold mixes where we can reduce the emissions. We can extend the working hours. And then we can design, we should go for long lasting payments, which we have to design the payment such that it lasts for longer durations. So these are some of the alternatives that currently the industry is practicing. Is that sufficient? Definitely I would say no, it is not sufficient. It is for the young engineers today who should come out with a solution. I am not foreseeing any immediate magic solution, but I am damn sure that the next generation, the current generation, the budding engineers will come out with big solutions for all these challenges. So we need to stabilize the subgrade or these base layers or the sub base layers so that the layer thicknesses we're going to reduce. If you take the thickness of layers, it's about 1 meters today. If you cut open any the good payment, you find 1 meter crust. So we can consume, reduce the consumption of materials. We can stabilize weak materials, any weak materials which has got low strength, low modulus, by adding either by mechanical stabilization or by adding the stabilizing agents, conventional stabilizing agents, maybe lime, cement or anything. Or even there are n number of commercial stabilizers available in the market. We can make use of that. We can use commercial stabilizers. There are n number, but only concern is you have to work out the economics. If it is viable, economically viable, you can go for this use of commercial stabilizers. But again, still you can big way you can rely on the conventional stabilization techniques using stabilizers as well as rely on mechanical stabilization. So these kind of stabilization results in huge quantity of materials, reduction in the thickness of payment layers. If you ask me, is there any guidelines, any methods? No need to worry, everything is in place. Not only today, it is there in place for several decades. So there are n number of IRC guidelines in India or global guidelines where we can make use of these guidelines without any fear, So there are n number of guidelines to go for stabilization, use of the marginal materials, recycling, you name any material, whether it is silica, fly ash, slag, the quarry dust, the shavas dust, anything, but the black cotton soil, all can be made use of effectively in the construction. So we can make use of slag. Of course, it is very much used today. The slag can be used in the granular as granular layers. It can be used in the asphalt layers. It can be used in concrete pavement as unbound as well as bound layers. This is the other picture. Some of the national highways are big highways, the major important roads which we constructed using a huge investment. Construction of 1 kilometer of 4/6 lane costs around 15-20 crores per kilometer. Per kilometer, that is the cost the we invest on the roads. Uh, uh, so much is the investment. So having invested so much, this is one of the picture I am showing. It's again a multi-lane road and new road. In spite of having 1 meter crest, about 1 foot asphalt layer itself, bituminous layer itself, and this is the distress we see. So this is not acceptable. Why this? This is called rutting. The depression along the wheel path is called rutting, and you can also see this showing here. Why this? In spite of such huge amount of money invested and good materials is used. This is because of improper design, especially this kind of distress, improper design and the improper bitumen used in the mix. So we have to take care of that. There are many things to tackle those kind of problems apart from using good mix design, good gradation of aggregates and good binder. Today we have different binders based on our requirement. Generally we go for VG40 or VG30, viscosity grade 40 or viscosity grade 30 bitumen for the construction. So based on the traffic, the requirement, we select appropriate bitumen. So selection of bitumen is an important task. There are different modified binders in the market uh, for the construction, polymer modified, rubber modified. Again, there are different varieties in polymer modified or rubber modified bitumen, and all these bitumens modified binders can be made use of. The advantages of using these modified binders, these binders are used especially in the surface layer, bituminous concrete layer, surface layer, not in the bottom layers. So this reduces use of these modified binders, reduces the susceptibility to temperature variations, because we know that bitumen mix is thermoplastic. The performance, the stability of this asphalt mix depends on the temperature variations. And a modified binder gives high resistance to any deformations and deflections. It reduces the cracking, it reduces the aging, it gives good adhesion, good life, long lasting life, and in overall it improves the performance of the bituminous layer. So there are different mixes are in use today. Maybe for last 10 years in this decade, we are using different types of special mixes, asphalt mixes. This is one such mix called stone matrix asphalt. Stone matrix asphalt. Wherever the high truck traffic is, high axle load traffics are there, the engineers are recommending the stone matrix asphalt, which has got the high quantity binder, um, bigger size aggregates and fibers in the mix. So it reduces the deflection or deformation because of the high axle loads. So that also the life of the stone mastic asphalt is longer compared to the bituminous concrete surface. Then we have another type of layer for last 10 years we have been using, not widely used, the stone mastic asphalt or micro surfacing, but it's gaining momentum in the industry, people are using. That is a structural layer. Then this is another layer, micro surfacing. This is used for maintenance of the existing pavements, to increase the riding quality, to cover the depth, and to resist the raveled surface. So this micro surfacing is used. This micro surfacing mix is a modified bitumen mix with well-graded aggregates, filler and special additive. This is we don't need any rollers. This mix comes in the specially made, the mix is prepared in the special machinery mounted on the truck. So the mix is prepared in situ, spread in the soil, and to the required profile, and the mix settles within 1 hour or so, and traffic can be allowed. No compaction is required. So mix is prepared in situ, spread in situ, and sets within 1 hour, and it can be allowed for the traffic. So what are the advantages? So some kind of emissions. It can be used as a maintenance layer. Appears there are says the performance report says it gives good performance, and the the but only precaution is this kind of thin layers. Any thin layer is only meant for maintenance. It will not add the structural strength to the pavement layer system. This is another way of micro surfacing. So if you take the asphalt mixes, the bituminous mixes, they are broadly categorized into 4 categories. We say cold mixes when we use this mix from 0 to 30-degree range of temperature, atmospheric temperature. We say off warm mixes if the mixes are used when the when the mixed temperature is in the range of 65 to 100 degree. We say warm mixes if it is used in 100 to 140 degree centigrade. We say hot mix when it is mixed temperature is more than 130, 140 degree when it is prepared. So all the mixes what we conventionally see is hot mix, and nowadays the cold mix is also gaining momentum. Microsurfacing is a cold mix, and warm mix are also gaining momentum for the advantages it has got. So we can use the cold mixes for any of the layer, whatever the layer we construct using hot mixes. Yes, we can use cold mixes where we use the different types of emulsion, rapid setting, medium setting, or slow setting emulsion, depending upon the type of mix we use, whether it is the dense bituminous macadam binder layer or bituminous concrete or any other thin layer. So this kind of cold mixes is in use today. Especially whatever I am discussing, they are in practice for last 1 decade, gaining momentum in our country. So advantages of using the warm mixes, where the mixed temperature generally is in the range of, see, hot mixes, we need temperature more than 130, 140. For these warm mixes, we can reduce the mix of the temperature to an extent of 30 degree. So much is the fuel consumption, so much is the reduction in the emission, and so much is the early opening to the traffic, and other advantages of using this warm mix is we can construct the roads even in the cold weather also. So there are other mixes like open graded friction cores. This is a thin permeable layer. The where strength comes from the aggregate interlocking, and this kind of layers reduces the wet weather skidding. Especially these layers, these kind of mixes are used in high speed roads where speed is high. The advantages of using these open graded friction courses is gives quick drainage, better night visibility, glare reduction, and retting problem will be less, and so that we can have improved safety on the roads. People are also here and there, if you look at the literature, not in our country, people are also trying for cement growted asphalt mixes. So what is that? Cement slurry is injected into asphalt mixes which has got high voids in the range of 20, 30%, and the cement don't get injected into these voids, and so that the rigidity, the modulus, the strength stability increases, hence the performance. People are trying this, but not at practice. Mostly it is in the laboratory and here and there pilot studies. Not in our country, we yet to start that. So then comes, you can see the Bangaloreans are quite familiar. We have started using this kind of white topping in this decade. And now we started in a big way about around several hundred kilometers of roads we have constructed in Bangalore city using this white topping. What is this white topping? It is construction of a cement concrete layer, thin layer over the existing bituminous layer. Bituminous layer. Different types of white toppings are there. Thick white topping, if the thickness of the layer is more than 200 mm. Thick white topping is similar to our cement concrete layer. Then comes thin white topping, that is what we are doing in the Bangalore city. Thin white topping, the thickness of this cement concrete layer is 100 to 200 mm. So this is constructed as a bonded layer, and if we want, we can also use fibers. The advantage of this white topping in the cement concrete layer, the joint spacing is about 3.5 to 4 meters. Here, the white topping, the joint spacing is about 0.6 to 1 meter or 1.2 meter. So the behavior is flexible, not rigid. So it behaves like a flexible payment. Then we have a third type, ultra thin white topping. If the thickness of this concrete layer overlay is less than 100 mm, 100 mm. So this thin topping can be used for low volume road, arterial, local streets or a low volume roads. What are the advantages of this using white topping? Long life, maintenance is low if it is constructed properly. We don't find the distresses like the rutting, the other deformations. It gives the high structural stability, structural strength to the pavement layer system. These are the advantages. Then we are using the payments of like interlocking concrete block payments. These kind of interlocking concrete block payments can be used for the payment also, regular road also. Not quite popular in our country. Here we use mostly for footpaths, but in other countries it is used in the main carriageways also. Here also it can be used. In some states they have used, in Maharashtra, Kerala, yes, it is used in junctions and so the streets also, where digging up for maintenance activities for the utility lines is quite high. The advantage of using this interlocking concrete block payments is that maintenance of utility lines is we can easy. So we can take out these blocks, attend to the whatever the cables, the water supply lines are so, and then we can reuse the same materials and reconstruct. So we don't find any distress. So this can be used in parking lots, bus depots, regular payments, footpaths, cycle tracks, residential streets. The only thing is we need to construct in a good way. Most of the times the layers get bad name because of poor quality construction. So uh, properly constructed ICBP layers gives good performance. This is a typical cross section of the ICBP where you have all the pavement layers. One additional thing is we have the sand bed layer. Using appropriate sand for filling and sand bed is quite important here, and compaction plays a big role. So then we have composite payments. What is this composite payment? If there is a existing asphalt payments, we can go for a concrete layer. If there is a concrete layer, we can go for an asphalt layer over that. Or if there is a stabilized layer, we can go for a concrete layer, or we can go for an asphalt layer. So totally the flexible behavior, the rigid behavior is combined, and these composite payments are also can be used. So if you ask me today whether we can construct asphalt layer over bituminous layer over a concrete layer, yes. If you ask me concrete layer over asphalt layer, yes. So the advantage is these strains that are generated will reduce, and it, instead of strains generated at the bituminous layers, it goes below the rigid layers. So the performance, the stability, strength increases, life increases. So We have been talking about reuse of materials, recycling of the materials, and fortunately, all the guidelines are in place. The rules are also met, but somehow we are lagging in that. There is no need to reinvent the wheel, but still we are lagging in that. And now the stakeholders, the clients are putting a lot of pressure to go in for recycling. The society also putting a lot of pressure on the road industry to go for recycling. Recycling. So what is this recycling? Make use of the existing pavement materials, whether it is aggregates, whether it is soil, whether it is the bitumen, whether it is the concrete. All these should be can be reused, maybe for reconstruction, maybe for resurfacing. Different types of technologies are there in the recycling. We can adopt cold mix technology where emulsions are used, or hot recycling where we adopt a hot process. So either we can adopt in situ technology where within the site itself a chain of equipments comes which scarifies, mills the material, mixes, then paves, then compacts in the site itself. That means the taking of the materials, milled materials, scarified materials from the site is not there. Or we can take these reused, reclaimed materials, milled materials, scarified materials to the centralized plant. There we can produce the mix and then bring back the mix and then reuse it. Such kind of technologies are called in-plant technologies. In situ technologies are called in-place technologies. So all these technologies are in use here and there. India also we have started constructing. Karnataka also now going forward, you may see a lot of recycled materials roads in the near future. The clients are serious, PWD are very serious on this. So to begin with, the hot in plant recycling, cold in plant recycling can start, and later there are some limitations and extra precautions are required for this. Economics, finance, all those things. So later, maybe we can think of in-place technologies. So this recycling technologies, as needless to say, it reduces the consumption of materials, cost of construction, and preserve the existing the geometry, and it's a favorable to the environment and reduces the consumption of energy also. If you look at all these things, you may tell why we are not, there are so many challenges. Are we not changing fast? Yes, we have been changing. We have been adopting the latest technology, new technology. And in the last 20 years, if you see, earlier we were using a layer called waterbound macadam. If you see today, it is outdated. We are not using mostly, and we are using wet mix macadam. We were not using GSB, we were using conventional GSB. Today we are using the non-plastic GSB, and again for the full width. We were using BUSG, bituminous macadam. Today we are going for high quality mixes like DBM. We were using chip carpet. Today we are no more using chip carpet. Today we are talking about SDBC, microsurfacing, and so on. We were using 3-wheel static rollers. Today we have got advanced plants and machineries, vibratory rollers, pneumatic rollers, and so on. We are preparing the estimates. Today we are talking about project reports, DPRs, and we were using Dremix plants. Today we are using the 3-stage, 2-stage modern crushing plants. We were using the backhoes for spreading. Today we are using graders, and there's a lot of changes that we are doing from that has happened in the industry, and many more changes are required. Thank you for your kind attention and patience hearing. My discussion is over. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind opportunities. So any
So
clarification?
we have, we have a couple of questions from the participants. So one by one, I'll read out those questions. So it will be great if you can able to answer those questions.
My pleasure.
Okay. So what is the difference between WBM and WMM, waterbound macadam and wet mixed macadam?
The current generation would have not seen this layer. Maybe 15, 20 years back, we used to break the boulders manually using hammer to the construction size, 40 mm, 12 mm, and so on. And these are stockpiled in the construction site, and these jelly are manually spread, and the soil is spread, and we used to construct the layers as a base layer, because cost was the biggest constraint. All the projects that we were constructing olden times were resource constrained projects. Today it is time constrained project. So it was manually constructed layer. It was consuming lot of time, and the thickness of each layer used to be 75 mm. And to control the raveling, we used to have, we were using the soil good gravel over that. Today we are not using that except here and there for PMGSY roads. Today we use a crushed aggregate directly from the construction size aggregates to the required gradation from the crushing plant, from the mixing plant to the job site. It is transported through tipper, and it is literally paved through using paver. So much is the change. It is graded aggregates, something like wet mix macadam. WBM is replaced by wet mix macadam in our country. It's a well graded granular layer, non-plastic. That means we don't use soil. High modulus, high stability, and less segregation.
Okay, sir. One more question. During what stage of mixing should we introduce fibers in the case of WMA?
No, we don't use fibers in the granular layers. We use fibers in the asphalt mixes. Fibers are used at the time of mixing, at the later stage. We should have a separate bin for that, separate bin for the fibers. Through the separate bin, it is injected to the pug mill, because in the plant, the aggregates are heated first, and then bitumen is heated, and then it is both are mixed. At that mixing point, that is to the pug mill, these fibers from the separate bin, it is injected in the known quantity. So that the idea is using fiber is to increase the modulus, increase the stability, increase the strength of the mix.
Okay, sir. We have one more question related to the fiber. What are concrete fibers used in white topping?
Concrete fibers. No, polymer fibers are used. Steel fibers are used. Steel fibers, I mean, if you look at the literature, we have steel fibers, different types of polymer fibers. The commonest is, you might, even Bangalore, we have used waste plastic fibers, shredded waste plastic. It acts as a fiber. So in concrete mix also fibers are used. It is assumed that about 10% increase in the compressive and flexural strength is we add fibers to the mix. But there are some limitations also. Some additional care is required when we add any fiber to the concrete mix or the asphalt mix. The uniform distribution, uniform mixing, yes, it's an issue.
Okay. Do we have any thumb rule to differentiate between rutting due to pavement layer distress and due to improper compaction of subgrade itself?
If there is any deficiency in the subgrade, rutting is a functional parameter, it's a structural parameter. So if deep, rutting is deep, 20 mm or so. So maybe something is wrong in the bottom layers. And there are many reasons for rutting. If the mix is unstable, we get rutting immediately within no time. And if the subgrade bottom layers is weak, if subgrade is weak, definitely we get settlements and a lot of depressions. If we find only rutting, no other distress, then we can attribute that to the asphalt layer. So if something wrong in the bottom layers, you find settlements, especially if if the mix has crossed its design reputations, if there are drain issues, if there is instability in the payment system, we get settlements and all. If it's only retting, no other distress, it is you can attribute to the improper quality mix. The other indication is if there is retting and heaving, uh, if the retting and the heaving height is same, then definitely it is attributed to the top layer only. And for any of the detailed investigation is required if there is any complexities. And each layer we have to diagnose, find out the properties, and then come to the conclusions. So many things I have found both when I investigated. In some cases, I have found only top layer. I showed you here. In one of the picture, I showed you retting and showing. That is a very special failure where I have investigated. That is attributed only to the top layer. But sometimes it can be due to bottom layers also. The thumb indication is if bottom layers are weak, you find depressions, and just not retting, you find depressions also. That's a thumb indication.
Okay, sir. One more question. Is it feasible to consider 100% RAP with chemical additive based WMA? And what are the challenges a researcher should be prepared for working?
Kindly come again. Is
it feasible to consider 100% RAP with chemical additive based WMA?
See, one thing we need to be clear. Literature says 30%, experience says 30% can be used without no questions asked. We can go up to 50%. So what do you, 100% of the reclaimed materials can be used, but it should be used in the other project. But as on date, people advise use only up to 30% without any fear, up to 50% with some caution. Remaining 50% material you can use in the other road, other mixes. But totally all the wrap materials are to be used. We should not throw that materials. It has to be reused.
Okay, what are the challenges a researcher should be prepared for working in this domain?
Oh, I listed many. If you ask me how and all, I don't know, but definitely the next generation will take care of all this. All I listed only challenges with no answers to that. If you ask me answers, I don't have answers. See, what is required is, in my view, I am not a researcher for that matter. I am not a researcher. I'll accept that very frankly. What is required for the industry is if some engineer says, see, I am not excavating any, or I am not extracting any jelly, right? I have extracted the least, and see the quality of road I have constructed. This is what I have designed, I adapted. If somebody says that, and that is the big thing, big contribution to the industry. How and all, I don't know. How and all, I don't know.
So nobody
knows as on date. Nobody knows. We want cutting edge, out of box thinking, cross thinking solutions for our society. There are problems. What country needs is solutions. Society needs is solutions. Not country, globally. The solutions are required. But unfortunately, we are not finding that.
Okay, sir. The nice road stretch between Kengeri and Tumkur Road is constantly showing rutting. Do you have any opinion on that?
The reasons for rutting is any investigation. So it is it is something like this. We have to diagnose and give appropriate treatment. There are no general solutions, but there are reasons for rutting that I can list. So rutting is if wear voids decreases, rutting can happen. If there are poor stability in the mixes, rutting can happen. If there are weaknesses in the bottom layer, rutting can happen. So what is the exact cause for the rutting? We have to diagnose, take the core and find its properties. That is the simple way. The better way is cut open the pit, check the properties and give the conclusions. So these are three main reasons I listed.
Okay, sir. which one is better among WBM or WBM and WMM, and why?
WBM is a manually constructed layer, takes more time. Gradation is difficult to maintain. And then the WBM is many times WBM we use more water that may spoil the subgrade. WMM is a well-graded, dense-graded layer. Segregation is less, stability is less. So definitely WMM is much more superior compared to WBM. WBM. That's the reason we are using almost WBM is outdated. We stopped using that.
Sir, I think all the doubts has been cleared.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for answering those questions, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And-
Thank you very much for the kind opportunity. Thank you, the East West team, for all the. Thank you, HOD, the principal, all coordinators. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us your time and sharing your immense knowledge on this particular topic on this day, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. M.S. Nagraj Gupta, sir, HOD, Department of Civil Engineering, EWIT, to deliver the vote of thanks for the day. Sir, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Anjaneyappa, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
sir.
very
Thank
much
you very
for accepting our invitation and deliver the lecture on recent practices on highway engineering. You have delivered a nice lecture, okay, which included the recent materials, what are the materials used in the highway construction, and how we can use the recycled materials in construction of highways, and what are all the problems and the challenges we are supposed to face in designing of the roads. Okay, you have cleared all the doubts of our people who have attended this program. See, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gupta, sir. And I also thank all the participants to make today's session a very successful session. Thank you so much. And tomorrow will be the last day of this 1-week webinar. And I like to inform that tomorrow's session will be delivered by Dr. B.K. Purandara, Scientist F, National Institute of Hydrology, Belagavi, on the topic of remote sensing applications in water resource management. I again thank all the participants to participate in this today's session. And the feedback link is shared in the chat box. So everyone can submit the feedback for today's session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you all the participants for your participation. See, tomorrow also you attend the session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.